Some days I really hate making videos. This is one of them.
All living things on Earth are made up of cells, so what are the chances that even a first cell could have accidentally formed?
Depends on what you mean by accidentally. If you mean by chance, pretty much zero, but no one says that. On the other hand, if you mean unintentionally, but rather as a result of nature just doing its thing, then pretty much one.
About 150 years ago, when Charles Darwin was alive, the cell was considered to be something like a simple, unsophisticated microscopic blob of jello. As a result of recent discoveries, however, we now know just how amazingly complex these extraordinarily small cells are.
Right, and if they had been blobs of goo that don't actually do anything, just blobs of inert matter, then we would need a miracle to be alive. Unfortunately for you, there are mechanistic biochemical processes going on inside cells that make sure we don't need magic. So how is this evidence of magic?
The adult human body contains 100 trillion cells of various sizes. 10,000 average-sized human cells could fit on the head of a pin, and every single cell contains information equivalent to about 4,000 books.
Is there a point coming up?
The information for all the cells in one adult in book form would completely fill the Grand Canyon more than 75 times.
Okay, how hard is this to understand? If we're going to describe something very, very small, the description is going to be larger than that which is being described.
The cell could also be viewed as an amazingly miniature city, with an elaborate network of connected assembly lines with numerous molecular protein machines.
And no magic.
This is a picture of the flagellar motor magnified more than 50,000 times.
Here we go.
As a result of the flagellar motor, a bacterium's top swimming speed is estimated to be the same as a human swimming at 60 miles per hour.
So 60 miles per hour. I mean, the same velocity as a human going 60 miles per hour, that would be 60 miles per hour.
All 30 distinct parts of the flagellar motor are essential. So if you remove one of the parts, it will not work at all, and the bacterium will die.
No, it just wouldn't have a flagellum.
The flagellar motor is similar to a mousetrap. For a mousetrap to work, you need all the different parts, and if you remove one of the parts of the trap won't work at all.
I love this analogy, and it is completely wrong. It would function just fine as a tie clip or a paperweight. It just wouldn't function as a mousetrap.
But how would these numerous microscopic machines or parts know where to go and how to build things correctly in an evolutionary system?
They don't know anything. They just blindly follow the instructions in the DNA. That's just chemistry. Advanced chemistry, but still, it's just chemistry, and it doesn't require any knowledge of anything.
Left-handed and right-handed amino acids are produced with about the same frequency, but only left-handed amino acids can be selected for use in a chain to make a protein. Evolutionists do not have any idea why proteins only use left-handed amino acids.
Wait, are you saying that evolutionists can't explain why something that can't even form can't survive and reproduce? Okay, Kitch, I know you love this argument. You care to weigh in?
The amino acids are placed in the exact right order because of a molecule in the cell called DNA.
Right, so not magic.
DNA could be described as a master blueprint, information code, or special language that uses a 4-letter chemical alphabet.
So you acknowledge that it's chemistry, not magic. Cool.
If the DNA is not present from the very beginning, the amino acids will not be correctly selected and placed in the proper order.
Unless something simpler could accomplish the same thing in a simpler way that has a less complex result. I mean, I don't know, maybe RNA or something like that. This whole thing is based on the idea that life started out as complex as it is today. You know, the only people who believe that are creationists.
But having the complex DNA instruction program is not enough by itself. Other things in the cell must be able to understand and use DNA's information program.
Again, no, nothing has to understand anything. It's just chemistry.
DNA is able to make an identical copy of itself. God also programmed DNA to detect and correct errors.
First, yes, DNA makes copies of itself. That's the basic principle of life. X plus nutrients, in other words, building material, plus energy, gives 2x plus waste. That's the simplest way I could possibly explain life. That's what life is in its most basic form. Self-replication. Second, you're trying to use the claim that God did something as evidence of God. That's circular. Third, some errors are fixed, yes, but this is an imperfect process, and that's why we have things like individual variation, random mutations occurring, and that's what ultimately drives evolution.
The information contained in DNA proves that life doesn't just consist of matter and energy. It also contains information.
Yes, in the form of matter.
Information can only come from an intelligent source that put the information there.
False by definition. Information is simply a sequence. It doesn't matter how the sequence came to be ordered the way it's ordered.
There is no evolutionary explanation for the incredible complexity involved in conception and birth, or even a reason for reproduction itself.
Stop saying there is no explanation when you actually mean, I don't know what the explanation is and I want to keep it that way. Look, the explanation for reproduction is that that's what life does. Like I said, X becomes 2X when you add energy and nutrients. That's what life is. If you had a life form that didn't reproduce, well, it would die out.
Evolutionists believe the amazingly complex, radically different, yet complementary reproductive systems for all the different kinds of life happen to develop by chance.
No, not by chance. By random changes acted upon by natural selection.
Also, how would reproduction have happened in the beginning if there only had been a male and not a female?
Then life would have stayed asexual.
How would reproduction occur without reproductive systems or organs before they, quote, evolved?
Well, like that. You just showed it. Mitosis.
According to evolutionists, humans evolved from land creatures which evolved from fish. But how would the first fish make it onto land and survive out of the water?
It didn't. The first fish didn't leave water. The fish that did came much later. And it was a gradual process. It's not like anyone says a fish just sprouted legs and walked up on land. What?
How did the animals and human beings survive without having organs, limbs, and other things critical to life as these things were, quote, evolving?
What organs and limbs are necessary for life? Sure, a human needs a heart, for example, but a bacterium doesn't.
Also, not one transitional fossil has ever been discovered that shows one kind of animal evolving into another kind of animal.
That's actually true, but only because kind is a term that you intentionally leave undefined, so that whenever a transitional fossil is found, and thousands of them have been, you can say that doesn't count.
And the so-called missing link fossils, which some use to argue that apes evolved into human beings, have all been shown to be fully ape, fully human, or fake.
Well, since humans by definition are apes, it's impossible to find a fossil that is fully human and not also fully ape.
White blood cells will actually search out and chase down bad bacteria on seek and destroy missions. In order to do this, they must have the programmed information that enables them to tell the difference between friend and foe. Unless all of this was in place and working from the beginning of life, a requirement that rules out evolution, bacteria and other agents of disease would have won, and we would not have survived.
Okay, I'll admit, I don't know anything about this stuff. I'm not a biologist. I'm not even that interested in the subject. But I searched for the exact phrase, evolution of the immune system in Google Scholar, and I got 2,000 hits. One that immediately drew my eye was one about the evolution of the fruit fly's immune system. In this study, they showed that this recognition process was a result of Darwinian selection.
Evolution has no explanation for blood clotting.
Once again, Google to the rescue. I'm talking about regular Google here. I Googled evolution of blood clotting. And the first hit was a paper called Step-by-Step Evolution of Vertebrate Blood Coagulation by R.F. Doolittle. Let's keep this in mind. Your claim is not that the explanation offered is false. Your claim is that there is no explanation on offer. You're lying.
And speaking of blood, what came first, blood or the heart that pumps blood?
Blood. Creatures small enough don't need pumps to pump it around their bodies. That's something I was taught in elementary school, actually. Why weren't you? Did you even go to one?
Did skin evolve before blood?
No.
The truth is that all these things had to be completely developed and present together from the beginning in order for humanity to survive.
Tell me, how do bacteria survive with neither blood nor skin? Right, so we can agree that you're wrong about these things being necessary for life. We're done.
The adult human brain contains 10 to the 14th power. That's 100,000 billion electrical connections.
Unless it's the brain of a creationist, of course.
These facts are just some of the evidence that proves we were created by God.
Nope, they don't even hint at it. Even if everything you said, as opposed to none of it, was correct, you haven't even attempted to present any evidence of God. Even if everything you said was correct, all that would do is bring us back to square one, which is not God did it, it's I don't know.
Some believe that the complexity of life in the universe can be explained by the possibility that an alien race created it. But do you really believe that aliens have the power to create the Earth?
Actually, no. But at least it's possible, unlike magic, which is what you believe in.
Or how about something the size of the sun? Over 1 million Earths could fit inside the sun. The sun is also very hot, so how would aliens go about putting the sun together and constructing it? How would they get close enough to the sun when building it, or move away from it quickly enough without dying after starting it up?
I've got nothing, we know how stars form, we know what powers them. Desert file, help.
Gravity, you fucking retard!
The conditions outside Earth and outer space are, according to the evidence, too hostile for life to exist. For example, prolonged exposure to the cosmic rays in outer space can be fatal.
But the vacuum is not a problem, apparently.
Who says there's life in space? Alien life would be found on planets where the conditions allow for it, not in space.
Yet a large number of astronomers believe that life evolved on Earth and therefore, according to them, it must have also evolved on other planets in space.
Not must. It's just that there's no reason to think that life-permitting conditions would have to be unique to Earth.
However, if this were true, many alien races on other planets much older than our own should exist.
Who says they don't?
Some of them would be far more technologically advanced than we are. As a result, they would have sent a radio signal through space that we could pick up.
Not necessarily. It's the part about us picking it up that I have a problem with. A signal emitted 1,000 light years away would be really faint when it gets here. And it could easily be lost in the background noise. And we also don't know for how long a typical civilization uses radio. Maybe they find some other way to communicate once they reach a certain level of technology, and we just haven't come there yet. We've had radio technology for about 100 years, a little more. Maybe in 10 years we will have abandoned that technology because we will have found something better. Then why would we expect aliens to still use radio?
Or they would have reached us with their aircraft or robots.
How the hell would aircraft travel through space?
But we have never found any alien robots, any aliens, any alien aircraft, or any pieces of their aircraft.
Again, how the hell would aircraft travel through space?
Based on the observed activity of UFOs, many of the world's top UFO researchers no longer believe that UFOs can be from the material world.
Are you seriously so desperate that you're lumping UFOs in with things that scientifically literate people believe in?
These issues are covered in much more detail in my book, UFOs, Demonic Activity and Elaborate Hoaxes Meant to Deceive Mankind.
Such as creationism?
If ETs really existed, it wouldn't take them very long to discover what they needed to know about Earthlings. As a consequence, they would have already taken us over,
Of course!
destroyed us, or revealed themselves clearly to humanity.
Or maybe they're intelligent and therefore don't want anything to do with stupid monkeys who still think invisible wizards are real.
For the best book refuting the theory of evolution from all aspects of science, including the scientific evidence of a global flood.
You mean the one that is absolutely disproved by the fact that we're not underwater? I mean, there's not enough water to cover all land, because if there were, all land would be covered in water.
See Dr. Walt Brown's book In the Beginning.
Who's Dr. Walt Brown? Is he related to Mr. Walt Brown, the creationist with a fake degree that he got from a diploma mill? Yes! It's over! Damn, that video sucked. I mean, even by creationist standards, this was stupid.
There wasn't even an attempt to back anything up. You just made a bunch of assertions, and you call this amazing evidence? There wasn't even an attempt to show any evidence, much less an actual successful attempt to provide amazing evidence. Look, you clearly don't know what evidence is, so let me try to explain this to you. In order for something to be considered evidence of God, it would have to be a claim that, if false, would prove that God doesn't exist. So tell me, let's take the whole immune system thing. Evolution can't explain the immune system. Okay, so if that claim is false, and it is, does that falsify God? I don't think any theist would say that it does. So how did investigating the truth of that claim in any way test God's existence? It didn't. You're not going to be able to find a single claim that you made in this video that you can say, oh, if that's wrong, then God doesn't exist. So none of them are attempts to test God. I think you'll find that there is nothing, even in principle,
that you would say would falsify that God exists. It's not that it's false. The God hypothesis isn't false. It's untestable. It's unfalsifiable. You know what that means? It's not even false. See ya.